Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Acer XF270HUA. Now this monitor follows on from what I would deem the best gaming monitor on the market, and that is the Acer XF270HU. So yes, you can see the only difference is the A at the end of the model number. Now what does this new model number mean? Well, in terms of just the looking at the product page, you'll be able to see that the new monitor has a zero frame border. In other words, it's got a borderless design, and I'll get into that in just a bit in terms of build quality. But in this review, I will also check out how it does in terms of its image quality, in terms of its gaming performance, and just generally how does it differ from the old monitor and if it's worth it. Now you might be wondering, okay, how much does the old monitor cost? So first of all, the old monitor costs £430, however it does fluctuate greatly in price. You might find it for cheaper or a little bit more expensive. In terms of its availability, it is a discontinued monitor, so you will have trouble finding it. So do bear that in mind. Now the new monitor is a lot more expensive. It can be found right now on eBay for £490. You can also find it on Amazon.co.uk for a whopping £530, a cool £100 more than the older monitor. Now bear that in mind, that I'll be reviewing it at the £490 price tag, whereas the old monitor I reviewed it at the £400 price tag, so a £90 difference. So what about its specifications? Now the monitor, the new one, comes with it has a 27-inch panel, has 2560x1440, so 1440p, that runs 144 Hz despite eBuy's incorrect 60 Hz description. It has an IPS panel with a 4 millisecond response time, at least that is quoted. It comes with a VESA 100x100 mount that you can add yourself. It has 2x2 watt speakers, which are in all honesty quite useless unless you use it for Windows notifications. In terms of inputs, you've got DVI-D, you've got DisplayPort 1.2, HDMI 2.0, and HDMI 1.4 with MHL compatibility, and a USB 3.0 hub. 2 ports are found underneath and 2 ports are found on the left hand side, and that is exactly the same in terms of the configuration, in terms of how the ports are with the older monitor. There's also an audio 3.5mm jack input and output for your headphones. So in terms of jacks, in terms of specifications, nothing has changed at all. So you shouldn't be worried, or maybe you'll be wondering if there's something new. Well, there isn't versus the older model. Now, what about its build quality? Now, the build quality has changed. As I mentioned before, the borders. Now, the borders on this monitor are a lot slimmer, which means that the monitor does seem a little smaller on your desk, which is fantastic. It also means that there's less of a distraction on the outer edges, so your eyes are mainly focused on the screen itself. In order to give you an idea, I'll just bring you the old monitor, which is actually my monitor that I use on a daily basis, and you might be able to see, if my camera can pick it up, of the borders that are on the side. If I just go a little bit closer, you guys will be able to see how there's borders over here, and they've got a sort of a lip on the side, so you can see my finger just fits over here. Whereas with the new monitor, it's absolutely borderless and there's absolutely no lip. So it's a flat design and a kind of like an infinity pool, as they would say, like an infinity design. So in terms of its looks and its borders, there's a massive improvement over here. Is it something that would warrant a price difference? Personally, no. However, that is something that's changed. Other than that, the stand is identical. You can still height adjust it, tilt adjust it, fully rotate it, and also pivot it on the spot. Nothing has changed over there. The stand itself is also the identical stand that's used on the older model. It's still got a red accent over here, which I've got no problem with. It's a sturdy stand, which means that the monitor doesn't shake even if you're rage quitting off Counter-Strike. So there's no differences there either. Now, in terms of the OSD has changed slightly in terms of its looks, but in terms of functionality, it is identical. So just zooming in over here so you guys can see, and reducing the EV of my monitor to give you a bit more accurate color reproduction, you guys will be able to see the OSD. Now through the OSD you can customize what these buttons are. Over here I've customized it on volume and overdrive setting, which is the exact same that you can customize on the older monitor. Going through the monitor itself, you've got all the the normal controls that you'd expect. Now in terms of brightness, I've got it on 80%, simply because 100% gives you a massive luminance of 410 CDN, so it's very, very bright of a monitor. Contrast ratio on 50, black boost 5, ACM off and super sharpness off. Color adjustments, I've got it on user mode with everything on 50. You can set this to different modes, so you've got warm, normal, cool, blue light, and obviously user mode. And you've also got sRGB mode. If I just go down over here, if I can, there we go, you've got sRGB mode. Now if you enable sRGB mode, it will lock the brightness to 65. A little bit odd of the way it does it. If you adjust the brightness, it will automatically kick you off sRGB mode, and just bear that in mind. However, sRGB mode can be useful for those who like to video edit or photo edit, and as you can see over there, sRGB mode also kicks you off your profile that you were off before. Audio adjustments, as I said, speakers are not fantastic. In terms of gaming, there's overdrive setting, which I'll get into in just a bit. OSD settings, system settings, in order to make sure that you are on DisplayPort 1.2 setting rather than DisplayPort 1.1, in order to get you 144 Hz. Hotkey assignment, which means that you can change those two little hotkeys which I found on the bottom. So I've got overdrive and volume. You've got also the HDMI black level and a power off with USB charge, so you can charge your phone with a USB port whilst your system is off. As you can see over here, running 144 Hz at 1440p. So there we go. The overdrive settings haven't. The OSD settings haven't changed. I have actually no complaints about that. Now, what about its panel quality? Now, the panel quality also hasn't changed, and that is beautiful. The panel still looks stunning. Now, in this image, you can see there's deep blacks. The deep blacks come out fantastically. The white on the on the machine over here, and even on the earth level over here, you've got fantastic white points, and it's not grayed out or washed out in any sort of way. Going through various sort of images, this image of London, you've got popping colors with all the lights coming out, with a fantastic sort of black bluish tone on the River Thames, and in terms of the skyline over here. It looks beautiful, it's not overly saturated, it's still vibrant, and yet it's accurate. So if you're a video editor or photo editor, you wouldn't have any problem using this monitor for that. And if you're wanting to look at games, then you're going to look at the game and enjoy the games, not only the resolution that you're going to get at 1440p, but also in terms of the actual look of the monitor portraying the colors. Every single thing I threw at it was identical to the older monitor, just colors are vibrant but not overly saturated, and they aren't washed out. Just to confirm that, I put it through a calibrator, and I found the average delta E at 1.33, which is perfectly acceptable. What was a little bit weird is the red colors were completely skewed, which seemed a little bit odd to me, but nevertheless that is what the calibrator picked up. It's not something I always trust, but nevertheless with my own eyes I can tell you that the image quality is fantastic, and it is simply one of the best IPS panels out there that you can find in the market, just in terms of how it looks and how it performs. In terms of performance, let's talk about gaming. Now, gaming is the biggest focus of this monitor, and it's the reason why I bought this monitor over other monitors out there. Now, obviously, Counter-Strike is not going to allow me to play, which is always annoying, but anyway. The monitor itself works flawlessly for gaming. The input lag is extremely low, as tested by other publications out there. The input lag is very slow. When I say other publications, I mean TFT Central, which tests the XF270HU, and that is the G-Sync version of the monitor. I should mention that this has AMD FreeSync technology built in, and unfortunately I cannot test that or the frequency range, simply because I do not have an AMD card or a compatible AMD FreeSync card. Now, in terms of the ghosting, which I talked about overdrive, now there's minimal ghosting. It is apparent if you're going to be playing more beautiful games, which have a lot of like trees or something like that in there, but in terms of the extreme setting, there's very minimal ghosting, to the point that if you're a competitive gamer, I would highly suggest using it on extreme overdrive. If you are going to be using it on Battlefield, for example, I would play it on normal overdrive settings so you don't see so much blurring or ghosting that occurs. In terms of the input lag, it's extremely low. It's tested as one of the lowest input lag monitors on the market, and that is still the case. In terms of response time, the monitor responds very well to how it is, especially on extreme overdrive setting, and I had no problems there. Would I use this monitor for competitive gaming? Yes. As I do on the older monitor, I would still use it for competitive gaming. I would have absolutely no problem playing at a global level at Counter-Strike. And in terms of casual gaming, I would use it for Battlefield as well. So this monitor is still the hands down the best gaming monitor. Is it worth the extra investment for the borders? That's up to you to decide. But in my opinion, if you can afford it, it is still the best gaming monitor you can find. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Make sure you give it a like, comment, subscribe, favorite and share, and thank you.